Hi everyone, today we're talking about his Funko Stock A Buy, and it's one that I've noticed in the comments section a little bit of the last videos, and I also saw Ali's World of Stock talking about it in his free stocks that he might buy, so I thought I'd cover the stock myself. So I'm using a different background again guys, so if you like it then just let me know. I might just film it in some different locations rather than just the whiteboard. And as well, before I get into the video guys, make sure you give it a like because it really helps the video on the YouTube algorithm. It really helps the video with the amount of viewers it gets, the amount of support the channel gets. So that's the only thing I ask from you guys. And we'll get stuck into is Funko Stock A Buy. So Funko is best known for its vinyl figures that it has over 100 licenses with, which has really helped build its success over the last few years. And these licenses are from Marvel characters to DC comic characters to musicians to even sports stars. It was founded in 2008 and it's last changed hands to a company called Acon Investments. They last bought it, and what I want you to do is just remember that name, Acon Investments, because they will be popping up later on the video and could be one potential major red flag for this company. So just please remember that right now. Over the last year, Funko has announced a film which could be really a big changing point for Funko, because obviously if that film does really well, it could be really important for the sales. It could also be the first film to feature Marvel characters and DC comic characters because they own licenses for both of them, which could be a really interesting selling point. Funko has also improved its margins, and one big thing it's trying to do is expand international growth. Now just looking at that, talking about the industry in the figures itself, now the figures makes up nearly 80% of this company's revenue, which is kind of a little bit worrying for me because obviously when one product, even though there's multiple products, and because they're relying on these figures only to be their big, what brings in a lot of their revenue, it's kind of worrying that if this trend was to go away, obviously that makes up 8% of their revenue, so it could be a really worrying thing for Funko. Now let's say these figures are still successful going forward, and they do apply to multiple age groups, which is kind of one of the big thing why and the collectors, and that's one big thing why Funko has been successful with just these figures, is that the licenses itself, not one license makes up more than 6% of their revenue, which is a good thing. But like I say, when these kind of figures make up 8% of the revenue, if this trend was to fade or die down a little bit, then that could be kind of worrying for the company. Now when we look at the chart, it does trade at $15. It is on a 37% discount, so some of you guys that like buying some discount stocks might be looking at this one. The main reason why it is down is due to revenue slowdown, but even though with the revenue slowdown, they have beat a lot of analyst expectations, and one of the big things I have noticed about this stock, and I've not seen a company like this for such a long time, is they do like to sandbag numbers massively, and they easily beat numbers when it comes to earnings report. One major attractive thing about Funko is that it's trading at a P ratio of 19, which is quite low really when we get onto the growth a little bit. And just into comparison, if we compare that to Hasbro has a P of 51, and Mattel, which is another big massive toy maker, they have no P because they can't make profit at the moment. So to have a really low P like that, and with the growth that Funko does offer, that's kind of one big great thing going for Funko right now. Funko also does really good on the EPS front. It's a company making profit, and it's also growing profit at 13.9%, and like I say, it always kind of meets analyst expectations and beats that as well. And when we look at the revenue growth as well, revenue's going to grow at 10.7%, which is nothing to kind of overlook right there. Now obviously it's down because of its revenue slowdown, but even with the revenue slowdown, it's still 10% revenue growth, trading at a P of only 19, which is really interesting as well. So when we look at the EPS and the revenue growth and compared to the P growth, that kind of is some really good numbers from Funko. When we take a look at the balance sheet, it does have a fair bit of amount of debt. And now what I told you to remember early on about Acon Investments, who have currently bought Funko, is that when we actually look at what's going on inside the company, because I like to see if insiders are buying, if insiders are selling, and when we look at what's going on, Acon, who have bought the company, are selling a huge amount of shares, which is probably one reason why they're down. Now I've got to say, there is a person on the board called Charlie Denson. He is been buying some shares, which is a good point, but with the amount of shares that Acon have been selling, that's kind of a little bit worrying for me. So overall, my kind of opinion with this company is that it is a company that does offer it is attractive with that P, with the revenue growth, with that EPS growth, and it makes a profit. The balance sheet could be slightly better for me. I am worried that the major holder, the owner of Funko, is selling so many shares like that. And like I say, when them figures do make up 80% of a company's revenue, even though a single product doesn't make up loads of it, when they are relying on them figures quite a bit, you know, it only takes people to stop buying them or to move away, and the company's going to be really affected by that. So overall, I do understand people will get into this company because it does have a low PE with some fantastic growth, but for me, I just feel it's I don't like how who owns the company is selling out. I don't really like how they rely on the figures, and 80% of that makes up for the revenue with them figures. That's a little bit worrying for me. So I think there's just a little bit of risk with this stock, and like I said, I understand if you get in it because there is some attractive points in this stock, but for me there's just a little bit of risk, and I rather have a company that I can 100% back in this situation, and that I'm confident investing in. And when I'm not confident in the stock, and if a stock, say this stock goes down 20%, I'm not confident, and I'm not going, yeah, I know this stock's down 20%, but it shouldn't be. It's a company that should be valued a lot more. I like it when I can do that. Like a company like Microsoft, if Microsoft goes down 20%, I'm like, yeah, fair enough, but this company is a great company and it will carry on going up in the future. I kind of don't have that with Funko because I'm kind of always thinking, what if this happens? What if this happens? Why are they doing that? And yeah, that's the only reason why I'm not probably going to buy Funko shares. If it does get to some stupid valuation where the P is then dropping below, say, a 10p, then I might say, oh, okay, maybe this is kind of like got to the point where the risk is worth it. But right now, I'd rather buy other companies, to be honest with you. So for me, I'm not going to buy Funko, but I can understand people that do with the growth it offers and the valuation it is at. So that's me talking about Funko stock today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video if you were checking out Funko stock. Remember, if you could give the video a like, that's all I ask for. It really helps the channel out, and I'll see you in the next video.